Hi, everyone. My name is Esther, and I'm the event manager at Coding Dojo, as Hunter mentioned. Really excited to be here with you all. I run all of our open houses and prospective student-facing events at Coding Dojo. But Coding Dojo is an education technology company that offers online coding boot camps. We've got courses surrounding data science, cybersecurity, and software development. We were established back in 2012, and as of 2022, we're really excited to announce that we have become a part of Colorado Technical University. We've got over 13,000 global alumni. We've seen our students pivot into career paths into like a variety of industries. We are 100% remote and we are 100% beginner friendly. We're also really excited to be talking with you all here today. Hunter already gave us a quick intro. So over the next 30 minutes or so, you'll be able to hear from a few members of our team. But I guess let's just get started with Michael Taylor, our Senior Director of Programs and Instruction. He did mention that, Michael, you did mention that you're a rubber ducky programming enthusiast. So I thought we would kick off by explaining maybe what that is, because it sounds really fun and I have no idea.
Yeah, absolutely. In the tech industry, there's this practice of programming called rubber ducky programming. And the whole idea is that you have a desk ornament, oftentimes a little rubber ducky that you use to debug. You kind of talk through your code or what you're trying to accomplish with your code with your rubber ducky, and you're able to catch any flaws in your logic or in your syntax as you're explaining your process to your rubber ducky. But this extends to peers as well. A lot of times programming is looked at as this real isolated kind of career where you're working alone, but you work a lot with peers, and there's this concept called peer programming that kind of goes hand in hand with rubber ducky programming, and the goal is the same, where you're working with your peer, you're talking through your ideas with your peer to ensure that you're catching bugs, and you're working collaboratively to solve problems.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarification. I'm sure the others in the room also appreciate it. So let's just get right into it. There's a lot of misconceptions about coding. I'm sure you've heard a ton of them while working at Coding Dojo and in your other places of work, but can you just touch on what are some of the most common misconceptions that you've heard about coding from students looking to pivot into new career paths?
Absolutely. Whenever we think of a programmer, we all have like an image that pops into our mind of what that person may be, and I think a big part of that profile, the profile of a programmer, is having a strong mathematic background. But that doesn't have to be the case. Another part of my bio that was discussed was the fiction writing. My background is in English, and I was an English educator before moving into tech. And I don't have a mathematic background whatsoever, but that doesn't stop us from breaking into programming. I'd say what's more important than mathematics competency is just critical thinking, and passion for problem solving. These are far more important skills than a background in math. Also, a lot of individuals will think of boarding as like I mentioned in the past, something that's just like isolated and tedious. You're sitting by yourself in an empty room, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Programming, both during our program, during our boot camp, and whenever you shift careers and you're doing this as a career, you're working with other people, and it is engaging. You're solving problems collaboratively. Whenever your code runs and you hit the run button and your application comes to life, oftentimes the whole room will jump out of their seats and get really excited because you guys solved that problem, you got that functionality, that you got it working. But another misconception is that there's no upward trajectory with coding. You get in, you get your entry development job, then you're kind of stuck there. But with the growth in the tech career, there's nothing but upward trajectory for new programmers. You guys can get in, and there's a lot of different directions that you can take as well based on the skills that you possess. So if you are somebody that's very technically competent, you may come in as a junior developer and work towards a middle level, and then a senior level developer, be like the technical expert of your team. Or if you come from a management background, you're strong, you have strong people skills, you may come in as a junior developer and find yourself as a project manager after a couple of years, where you're managing developers. You're kind of the middleman between the clients and the developers, where you're leveraging those people skills and working with the clients, kind of translating back and forth with your development team. So there's just a ton of opportunity out there, and it's not limited to just those technical people. I see a lot of people, individuals with those people skills, with those soft skills come in and have really successful careers in tech because they're filling in a gap that we have in the industry.
Awesome. Yeah, I really love how you answered that. I mean, I'm sure that something that a lot of folks can relate to is that staying motivated while learning a new skill or pivoting industries altogether can be really tough, challenging, daunting, all of the feels, right? But at Coding Dojo, how do you help students on the curriculum side stay motivated while they're struggling?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the core piece of our strategy is community. So we offer a lot of opportunities to build community with our faculty through things like code reviews, where you're meeting with faculty members and going over code that you've created, ensuring that you're following best practices. But we also provide opportunities for you to build community with your peers through like open office hours. We have a constantly running virtual room, much like this one, that we call the Dojo Hall, where our students are able to pop in and out and collaborate with one another. But this idea of community that we foster in the Coding Dojo is prevalent in tech as well. If you guys are to pop open another tab and Google, tech community events near me, I'm certain that you'll see a handful of events that you guys have that you guys could drive over to and meet other individuals that are interested in the industry. So we really try to model what we see in the industry in our boot camps with having these fun events, these community building kind of shindigs where we get industry professionals in and get them rubbing shoulders with our students.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us here today. I know that you've got a really busy schedule. So I have one final question for you. What advice would you give someone who's considering pivoting into a new career path? So not just coding, let's pull back a little bit, look at the big picture, and just in general, what advice would you give for someone?
Yeah, the biggest piece of advice that I would offer is to stay humble. I think that humility is the most important characteristic that we can keep as we're embarking on a new journey. So asking questions and being mindful that this is new to us, and letting our peers and even our potential supervisors know, hey, this is new, but treat me like a sponge. I'm ready to absorb this new information. I don't have any bad habits. And that's where I see the most success for career transitioners, or those individuals that go in with a positive attitude, that are aware of their own shortcomings, but also aware of what they bring to the table, and they're humble and ready to learn.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael. Really appreciate it. All right. So now that you all have heard from a member of our instructional team, I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about our career services department at the dojo. You'll hear that word tossed around a little bit. We do call Coding Dojo the dojo in our digital hallways. Fun fact, once you become a student at Coding Dojo, you get lifetime access to career services. So to talk to you all about the challenges of pivoting into a new career path, I'd like to introduce Benjamin Green. As you heard, he's our Associate Director of Career Services at Coding Dojo. Tons and tons of experience in the space. And I'd like to invite Benjamin to answer our first question. What are some of the most common challenges that you've seen people facing when they're transitioning into a new career path? I know that you've worked with people from all walks of life, various backgrounds, not just in the coding space, but just all over the place. So I'd like to kind of hear from you on the advice you would give to those people and the challenges that you've heard.
So, I mean, career transitions are scary, right? It's daunting. And I've been through at least one. And I think some of the biggest challenges that people face include things like self-doubt, just not knowing, right? Having fear of the unknown and not knowing what it's going to take, and not knowing sort of where you fit into everything. And I think the other common challenges are really like a lack of knowledge gaps when it comes to the industry that you're trying to break into, a lack of support, and a lack of direction. I think one of the things that the career services team at Coding Dojo really focuses on is helping folks build out direction, and have clear pathways, even if, with flexibility built in. But we find that it's extremely helpful when you're not kind of coming to the table saying, however I get my foot in the door, it's okay. But to really have an idea of where you want to go and what your interests are. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So how can career services at Coding Dojo potentially help people overcome the challenge of maybe not knowing where they want to go? Do we have like do you have workshops set in place? Like, can you walk us through a little bit about like the career services at Coding Dojo and how that can help students overcome those kinds of challenges?
Absolutely. Yeah, we are really kind of heavy in our recommendations that folks do research. And all the way from prior to entering into a boot camp through the length of the boot camp and continuing on once you've built out the skills and knowledge during the boot camp to have a better sense of what it is that you're researching and what it is that you're looking at. One of the things that we really focus on during the program, in addition to the kind of necessary things like building out professional portfolios and online profiles and honing a resume, is building what we would describe as a personal narrative. And the personal narrative is important not only because it's preparing you to kind of speak about yourself effectively, getting ready in advance to talk about this career transition that you're going through, but also it gives the folks on the career services team the opportunity to sort of look for knowledge gaps on the one hand and help you fill in those gaps, but also the opportunity to look for to find opportunities that already exist for you that you just might not have known were there because of those knowledge gaps. And so I think a lot of times people assume that when they are, doing a career transition and entering into something like a boot camp, basically because the stuff that they did before professionally and educationally doesn't directly apply to this new field or this new industry, that they're going to kind of leave up that stuff behind. But for us, it's really critical that we take account of what your prior professional and educational life was, what your interests are, what your passions are, because chances are there are opportunities out there that link up in one way or another. And that's the way that, and we provide you with some impetus to start to read and research and look into those various opportunities.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. I see that we've got some questions coming in the chat. Please keep them coming. We will be sure to answer a few of them towards the end. But I just wanted to touch on the tech field. What are some of the most important skills for people to develop in order to be successful in the tech field? One of the things that we talk about at Coding Dojo is launching your career path in tech, and we center a lot of our narrative around that. Can you touch on a little advice for people that are here that might be looking to jump into a new career path in tech?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for one thing that you need to build out the necessary technical skills in order to go in the direction that you choose. But outside of that, the good news is that the skills that are helpful in the industry and helpful for finding success in a job search are skills that you have been building in prior professional lives and careers and iterations. So, for example, adaptability is a really critical skill, right? The market changes really fast. And you need to be able to be flexible and kind of go with follow the currents of the market and figure out the things that you need to learn and continue to build onto your skills. And Michael mentioned something as well that is extremely important, and that's just a passion for problem solving. I think all of the programs that we teach, all of the professionals that come out of those programs are professional problem solvers. And so one of the things that we really try to focus on is gearing not just the work that you're doing at the dojo, but also your past professional work in terms of the problems that you have solved and to demonstrate a passion for problem solving. And kind of connected with that is a passion for learning, right? Because one thing that the tech industry will provide you is just a never-ending supply of new problems to solve. And so it's really critical that you enjoy finding ways, continuing to build your skills and finding ways to create these novel solutions through, like I said, research. And the other thing that I'll say is, also as Michael mentioned, there's this kind of preconception that, folks in the tech industry and software developers are kind of just sitting in their own little cubicle. They never talk to another human being. There's a couple pizza boxes on the desk and they're really isolated in their work. And that is absolutely not true. So teamwork skills and communication skills and collaboration skills, also the capacity to work autonomously, but balanced with a real enjoyment of solving problems collaboratively.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Now, for some reason, I want pizza for lunch.
Me too.
But I've got one last question for you. What advice would you give someone that's looking for a new career path? So maybe it's not tech. Maybe someone's looking to go into the medical field. Maybe someone's looking to break into an exec role. Like, what advice would you, just general advice, would you give someone that's looking for a general new career path?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned before, being directed, having actual interest, right? Having a clear sense that where there is flexibility built in, but having a clear sense of what you want. We've seen folks that, that come in and sort of don't have a sense of where they want to go, and they just know that they want something better, right? And so we really find it important to help those folks dial into particular pathways, because really companies are looking for people that are passionate about what those companies are doing, right? And so having a clear sense of direction. The other thing that I would describe is interviewing skills are really important, right? And the good news is that they're skills that they can be built, they're muscles that can be developed. But across the board, no matter what industry you're looking to break into, honing your interviewing skills, whether those are technical interviewing skills or what we would describe as behavioral interviewing skills, right, is a really, really critical piece of finding success.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with us. If you all want to learn more about our career services at Coding Dojo, you can sign up for one of our weekly open houses where we dive into a full overview of the career services at Coding Dojo with different career services managers. And sometimes we get a special guest, which is Ben in those events. So hope to see you all around there. All right, so now that we you've heard from our instructional team and our career service team, I'd like to talk to you all about the benefits of hiring graduates of non-traditional programs. I'd like to introduce Erica Underwood. As you've heard already, she's our Director of Partnerships and Recruitment at Coding Dojo. Erica, can you kick us off with talking about the benefits of hiring graduates from non-traditional programs?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is to folks that might be here that are potentially in a place where they can hire some boot camp grads in the future, or even if you are just trying to get into this industry, this is helpful knowledge that you can take and use as you're interviewing and applying to these roles, because there is a lot of value that companies are getting from hiring folks from non-traditional backgrounds, and specifically in this case, boot camp hires. So we've already talked a lot about this, but obviously drive and passion is there. People that are going through our program have identified that this is something that they're very interested in, and is moving through our program. And then when they graduate our program, they're so eager to get out there and prove themselves and to apply what they've just learned in our program in a work environment. Also, oftentimes with fresh hires from boot camps, they come with a renewed commitment and perspective. So I've heard from a lot of companies that they love hiring boot camp grads because they are not already kind of knowledgeable about the corporate rules and structures, and that they can come in and problem solve and see and analyze different problems that they're experiencing differently than the folks that have been there for a while. Another benefit to hiring from boot camps is company culture fit. So as we've already kind of hit on with Ben, soft skills training can definitely improve culture fit. And that is something that we cover at Coding Dojo. So that is a big help in making sure that you align with companies. And also a lot of companies like to hire people from the ground up, where they can really build that company culture. And that's where boot camp grads really are prioritized in the hiring process, because they can help install that company culture in new hires. D&I initiatives is a definite benefit here. We know that boot camps traditionally are more diverse than those of just the general tech industry in itself. And so, non-traditional backgrounds can increase diversity initiatives in a company. It also can help kind of lead to enterprise partnerships where the focus is on training underrepresented groups, and really just kind of help companies bring to light diversity, which at the end of the day, more diverse teams and company settings lead to higher productivity and, are just more successful. And then lastly, from a company's perspective, hiring from boot camps can save them money. We are minimizing onboarding costs here because there's a lot of hands-on technical training already done especially through our program. And so there's minimal onboarding costs and training done for graduates. Also, there's a better return on investment. Usually folks that are coming from boot camps stay longer. And because of all the reasons I've already mentioned, right? They're passionate. There's the company culture fit. And then also you can save on recruiting resource savings and time to hire. Again, if you know that a boot camp covers specific technical stacks that you need in a position, it's really great to go to a boot camp that covers that and can give you candidates that have already been really proficiently trained in those areas.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica. You kind of touched on this already, but can you talk a little bit about the recruiting services that Coding Dojo offers for hiring employers?
Yeah, absolutely. So if there is anybody that would be interested in hiring from the Coding Dojo, I would love to hear from you. We are always looking to expand that hiring partner network. But some of the things that we offer, obviously, we've been around since 2012. So we have a really extensive alumni network, and we are kind of graduating folks on a monthly basis. So we have a dedicated pipeline of talent. We also have technical recruiters that we partner with companies to really work with them on what their specific needs are and send them curated candidates that align with what they're looking for and needs in the company. And then lastly, we also offer several virtual networking events, which is a really great way to interact with our students in kind of a informal way, and also to promote your company. Obviously, there's a lot of value in talking about your company and what your goals are and what you guys are trying to accomplish versus just reading a job description. So that always sparks a lot of interest in our current students and graduates and which companies they're interested in and applying for.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica. It looks like we've got a couple of questions in the chat, so I want to make sure that we're able to get to all of those. So we'll take a few minutes now to answer a few questions. It looks like the first one is from Liz Wright. She said, I've worked in tech my whole career. I started as a technical support specialist and moved up to tier 2 support. I'm having trouble with knowing how to pivot to something new. How do you take such a specific career like technical troubleshooting and shift into positions outside of support? I think Ben from our career service team can take this one. Ben, do you have any insight for Liz?
Definitely. So, the good news is that doing technical support work, you already have built out a lot of the skills necessary to pivot into something else. And I think if you have a sense of what you want to pivot into, the work that you would have to do is to pick up those additional skills and then create things that demonstrate those skills, right? And oftentimes folks that have worked in the industry for a while have the capacity to self-teach or to do, a boot camp or an abbreviated program somewhere, and actually hone into the new set of skills, right? Doing the necessary research, figuring out, for example, what technologies are critical to the roles that you're interested in. And then building out skills in that and developing a portfolio that you can use to demonstrate to prospective employers that you have the capacity to take the skill set that you've built out in the technical support space and direct it elsewhere, right? And again, it's not the technical skills that you need in order to pivot. Support folks have done lots and lots of work with human beings and have communicated often complex technical issues to folks that have, a less understanding than you do. So these kinds of soft skills are also really, really critical to sort of portray and demonstrate. So I think, there's kind of two sides of it. Do the research, learn what you need to learn in terms of a new set of technical skills, and build things out that allow you to demonstrate those skills, but also figure out how to adapt the skills that you've been building during your career as a support person. And then direct that to whatever direction that it is that you're interested in.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Again, if you want to hear more from our career service team and get any other questions answered at a later date, definitely head on over to one of our open houses, check out our website, codingdojo.com, and you can get in contact with one of our admissions representatives. It looks like we've got a second question from Shirley. I hope I'm saying that right. But she says, or they say that different jobs require different stacks. Is it necessary to know everything, or at least whatever that's trending currently? I think this would be a good one for Michael.
Awesome. Yeah, great question from Shui there. Technology stacks don't weigh too much into job placement because the concepts from one programming language to another are shared, right? So if you're somebody that knows C# really, really well, but you see there's a job opportunity in Java, the skills that you possess in C# are easily transferable into the Java programming language. And a hiring manager, if you were to come in an interview and say, you know, I've been doing C# for 10 years, I'm ready to make this switch over, they would be like, okay, sounds great. You've been doing C# long enough, the Java's not going to be an issue for you whatsoever. However, I do encourage you to do some research on what programming languages are used in the jobs that you're interested in. Programming languages can sometimes be regional as well. Like Microsoft has a very large presence in the Pacific Northwest. So if you're looking at positions like in Washington State, you might see a lot of C# stuff, a lot of ASP.NET stuff that Microsoft uses. So do a little bit of research, see what technology stacks are being used, but don't let that be a limiting factor for you. Don't let that deter you. If you don't know a programming language that you see in a specific role, don't let that deter you from applying for that role.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. It looks like we've got 2 more questions that we can get to before we wrap up. But this one comes from Grace. She says, is there a cost for Coding Dojo career services? So the career services are included in the cost of the bootcamp at Coding Dojo. Ben, do you want to talk a little bit about what's included with career services?
Sure. So there is no additional cost. Career services is included. Career services also doesn't expire at the dojo, which is a really lovely perk. And that means that you can come back to us, right? You go out, you find that first job, you work for a year and a half, and maybe you want support in navigating your way through the company that you're working in, or maybe you want support in starting to look around at different companies or different roles, and you can always come back. The in-program, we've got a nice streamlined program built out to help you prepare for the search in the form of assignments and deliverables and resources and workshops, and you're also assigned a career services manager. So you get individualized support, and that person supports you not only in preparing for the job search during the program, but also in going through the job search once you've completed the program.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. You all have been great. If you're interested in learning a new skill or pivoting into a new industry, we encourage you to take that leap here at Coding Dojo. You never know where it might lead you. You can visit us at codingdojo.com to learn more about our recruiting services, to learn more about the admissions process, or to get in contact with one of our admissions representatives. You can also sign up to attend one of our open houses to learn more about Coding Dojo. Fun fact, we've given over $13 million in scholarships to date. So if you want to learn about how you can apply for one of those scholarships, come on and hang out with us at one of our open houses. I'm dropping a link in chat if you're interested in scheduling a call with one of our admissions representatives to learn more. And please, please, please remember that learning new skills is a lifelong journey, and there's always something new to learn. The world is constantly changing, as I'm sure all of you are aware. So don't be afraid to challenge yourself and learn something new. You might be surprised what you can achieve. So thank you all for taking the time to listen to us speak today, and we hope to see you around our digital hallways.